Okay guys, so we just put the top on, adjusted our fitment, took it back off, and I think this is where the tube's going to end up. So we're going to have to do some work. We don't want stuff to move. So this side here, that's tacked. But over here on the other side, we cut these tacks earlier to do some work. So we're going to re-tack that, re-tack the floor, and then I got to pull this bar back out and clean all this metal. Get it real clean, and then we're going to pop it back up, put the top back on again, line it up, tack weld it, pull the top, tack weld it some more. Then we're probably going to cut the tacks to the main hoop, I think. And then I'll have to figure that part out. But basically we got to get this out of here so we can weld that tube fully. We'll try to get it tacked fairly well in position. But it's turned out nice. So this is kind of what we were hoping for. There's a very small amount of clearance. Oh, it's hard to get show up on camera. There is a gap. It's just hard to see. But a little more pronounced on that side, but not much. But anyway, the key part is it's not hitting anything. So it's very, very close to this windshield, and the way it's positioned here, it's not hitting the top, but it's close. We've basically got it like centered between the two, right in the middle. So very nice. You can see from here pretty much what we expected. That tube is damn near invisible. It's so high, which is what we want. So all good. So yeah, we're gonna get this, go through our little process of making welds and cleaning stuff and get this thing tacked, and then hopefully get it fully welded. All right, so we got our little windshield bar tacked up in place, which we tacked it with the hard top on, but we just pulled the top to see how it looks. So the fitment is tight. It's pretty tight, but we did get it. So it's like barely touching in a couple tiny spots by a few thou, but I'm not worried about that. We're gonna double check the symmetry. I think we got it right. Like this position of this tube in this direction, I think it's the same on both ends. I used a caliper to try to set it. I put my caliper away, but anyway, I tried to use a caliper to make sure I got that close enough. So I think we're good. And it's looking great. Man, it's starting to look like a real cage finally. So that's cool. But yeah, we're gonna figure out what's next. Keep on going. Hey guys, welcome back. So we are looking at the car. We're looking at doing this diagonal bar. So you can see we've got a wooden dowel in there for now. Kind of roughly there, somewhere there. And you'll note this orange line. So when I sit in the car, you can see I've got some marks for like different positions of my elbow. This is like a midpoint between my elbow and my shoulder. There's the top of my shoulders. And so basically, here we go. If you take the orange line and move it straight up, that's that straight edge. Here's the midpoint. Come across, you can see our wooden dowel is pretty much intersecting more or less at that point. And that's what the rules require, is for that bar to cross in a midpoint between your shoulders and your elbows. So generally that's okay the way it is. It could actually be like a tiny bit lower, which would be preferable, but it's not bad. What's killing us, we keep staring at this, what I'm really struggling with right now is the order of operations for how, not how to build the tubes, but how would I weld them. The problem is this is like a ship in a bottle, and I have not figured this out yet. I can't, some of these tubes won't come out of the car if you weld, like the way the cage is now, the way it's tacked together, it can't be removed. The cage would have to go up and back, and these bars here aren't going to let it go up, and these bars that are in here won't let it go up or back really. Well, they'll let it go back, but not up. But I can't go back very much because these things are up against the wall. So it just, and if you try to lift the back of it out, the whole thing rotates like this, and this just slams into the windshield. These tubes run into the A-pillars. So you get to a point where you have to do some of the welding in the car. And then of course that's probably obvious, but the big problem is we're trying to get this cage real tight to the body because it's a Miata, and Miatas are tiny. So that's the problem you run into. So like down here, I put a 3/4 of an inch gap between that plate and the steel, and that's okay. I can weld that. That's gonna suck, but I can weld that, even though it's up against a metal wall right here. Like, I'll put the camera down here. You see what I mean? There's a big wall there, but I can still somehow, I'll figure that out. I think I can actually weld that. But like back here, I can pull the seat out, but there's like a corner, a wall. I don't know that I can weld a tube. If there was a tube that butted like here, I couldn't get over here to weld it. I don't think so. So that's a big problem. Maybe I can. Maybe I just need to mock something up and just think about it. But like, if you had a tube here, you'd have to get to the underside of it to like weld up. And I mean, even if you could get your torch in there, which I don't think you could, but even if you could, you couldn't see it. I mean, I guess maybe if you laid a mirror on the steel and tried to look at a mirror or something while welding upside down. I mean, I guess I've never looked. Maybe that's a thing. Sounds awful. But yeah, short of something crazy like that, we're kind of stuck. I'm trying to come up with a solution. I knew I had some of this figured out, but not everything. And this is the part. It's this stupid doing a rocker bar. I've been back and forth on this like 10 times. So I think I have to have it for the rules, but it's not 100%. So for several times I've already decided to just leave that rocker bar out, but then I decide to put it back. So like this diagonal, that's definitely required, and I can weld this. So if I built a tube that just looks like this, the only difference is if you look at it vertically, I would have this tube would angle out a little bit, so it would be like this. It would come off of this, here, do that a little bit, and then turn and go this way, just to give you a little bit of extra shoulder room in the seat. A little bit of crash safetiness too. That diagonal, that's kind of partly what that's for, is if you ever get hit in the side. So I'd rather it poke out a little anyway. But that's not too bad. I could weld that. This one up here, there's lots of room. I can get my whole hand in here, so no big deal welding that. And down here, I can manage, especially if this tube is like up a few inches. It'll be difficult, but I don't think it would be impossible. The welding the bottom of it is going to be, you're not going to be able to see. I'm not sure, but I mean, I don't know. At least there's room to get a torch in there. So like I said, maybe I could use a mirror or something. I don't really know how I would do that, but I could probably figure that out. Or you could even weld that one to that tube, not have this one welded, weld that to the tube out of the car, put it back in the car, then put the hoop in, and then weld this. You could do something like that. But the problem is when you get this rocker bar, it needs to go below that, or it should. It'd be ideal. And I just haven't found a good way to do it because nothing's easy to weld. So anyway, I'll just cut the rambling. We're probably just going to pause for a little bit and think about this. I'm not coming up with any good ways to actually weld it. I could build the tubes, but then I don't know how I'd weld them in the car. I've seen crazy shit where people literally cut the entire floor out of a vehicle and drop the cage structure down underneath the vehicle. Then they weld it, lift it back into the car, and then lift the floor back into the car and weld the floor back to the vehicle. That sounds asinine, so I really don't want to do that. I'm going to just go ahead and say I'm not even going to think about it. It sounds so bad. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, and we'll figure out how we're going to weld this. So anyway, that's all for now. Y'all take it easy. Hey guys, so I'll keep this short, but we ended up leaving the shop today and we're having a hard time figuring out how to weld our cage in the car, and I really can't find a good way to do it. It looks like some of the very difficult stuff is just going to have to be done with the cage in the car. Like I was hoping to be able to do the difficult welds out of the car, put those sub-assemblies into the car, and then complete the final welds, like tying it all together where it wouldn't be so bad, but I just can't figure it out. I think there's going to be a few welds, hopefully like only 2 or 4, where we have to weld like upside down, 2 inches off the floor, stuff like that. So really sucks, but I don't know what else to do. So the one thing I knew I could do is I could buy a different TIG torch, and we just did that. We just placed an order for this guy and a bunch of well, not a bunch, but essentially we picked out what we needed. So this torch is I'll keep this like 1 minute. But basically this torch, this little section here flexes, and this whole torch is just more compact than the one I got. And then I bought this short stubby piece that goes on the back, which will definitely save space. And if you look, if I scroll all the way to the bottom here, they offer these cups that are shorter. They're like a stubby cup. It's this one specifically. So I bought basically this. I had to order it from a couple different websites and pay extra for shipping, so hopefully it all gets here to meet my schedule. But anyway, we just placed an order for all that stuff. That was like a little over $200 for all that. But hopefully that makes the difference. We'll be able to get this torch in there and actually do our welding. So fingers crossed. All right, y'all take it easy.
A few moments later.
Hey guys, welcome back. So it took about a week and a half or so, but we finally got our about a week, but we got our TIG torch. So this one on the left, this is the old one. So this, I believe, is a CK Worldwide, or it looks just like one. Maybe it's not, but anyway, they just copied it if it's not. The one on the right is definitely a authentic CK Worldwide, and as you can see, significantly more compact. So this part looks about the same, although it is a little smaller. But notice here, this one, if you twist this piece here, which is really stuck, but this thing will twist. Yeah, you can see that, which is kind of nice. It lets you angle it in different rotations. That's kind of cool. But you can see the rest of it. You know, this tail piece hangs off real long, which I have shorter ones, but this one, that's how it is. And then this cup is really long. So the distance, like from here to here, is just pretty big. Now let's put that next to this one. I'll kind of line those up so you can see the difference. Significantly stubbier, and you can tell even if you put a stubby cap on this one, it would still be, you know, poking out to about where my thumbnail is. So this is still a lot shorter. And I believe this cup, they look about the same. These might actually be, yeah, they're about the same diameter on the cup. This new one might be a tiny bit smaller, but yeah, they're basically the same. So that part's about the same, but this is really neat. That part flexes. I'm not going to do it on camera, because the instructions say you're supposed to weld a little bit and heat this up before you start bending it. But it will bend, like you can probably see if I push that with my thumb. It's trying to flex. And you can bend that permanently. It lets you get it in unique positions so you can weld. And then of course in this profile is significantly better. So see how slim this is? If you compare it to this one, this thing's super fat. So overall this should be easier to work with building the cage. And we sure hope it is, because we're going to have to weld some stuff in the car. So anyway, I've never swapped this out, but I'm pretty sure you take this thing apart, and somewhere in here, oh, looks like that's coming out easy enough. Yeah, anyway, looks like some screws, take this apart, and we're going to hopefully hook this hose up and be good to go.